In this section, we are going to implement the add to cart functionality through the product page. So when this page is opened, we need to have add to cart option here. So that's what we are going to do in this section. Let's begin with the coding. Now let's go to the product details page where we are going to add the add to cart button first. And also a text box. So we'll begin with the text box where one can enter the quantity. I'm going to say input type is equal to text, and the value of this text box will be assigned to a state. So let me have a hook which will help me to take a state. So I'm going to say use state. That's what I have to import. And let's also create a state here. So QTY, the quantity is the state and set quantity is the setter method. And initially the state will be 1. Let's check the output. Now you see that there is a text box and the default value is 1. Now on change of this text box, we are going to call a function where the quantity, the setter method will be updating the quantity, and here we are going to pass the value of the current text box. Let's also add a button now. There will be some CSS which we'll define later on, but here we are going to say BTN danger. And add to cart is the text I want to display. So you see that the button is added. Now on click of this button, we are going to do some process which will update the cart. So I'm going to use the update cart object. In fact, we already have done the updation of cart. So we are going to eventually call that procedure which we have seen few sessions back. Now let's just display the value of product and also the quantity on click of add to cart button. So I'm going to call the update cart function from the on click event. Here I'm going to pass the selected item reference in the update cart. This item object is basically we have received when the product was selected. As you can see here, props.location.state, that actually brought the item object, and that we are passing again to the update cart when the add to cart button is clicked. Now let's open the developer tool and we try to display the product. So what does it have in the object? Let's check it. Let's clear the console and click on add to cart. So you see that we have the product detail here and the quantity is 1. Let's also try to change the quantity here. And again we click, so we have the quantity updated. It says 3. So now we have the details of quantity on click of a button, and of course the item details as well. Let's also change this input box to number, and we can set the min max value also. So we do not want that it should be negative value. So we say minimum is equal to 1. So now you cannot go below 0, below 1 in fact. Alright, now the next step is to deal with the dispatch and actions. So first I'm going to import the use dispatch hook. And also the actions. Now I'm configuring the dispatch. Now inside the update cart function, I'm going to dispatch the action. First I'm going to take a temporary variable. I'll say temp product is equal to the product we are going to take and the quantity. Now I'm going to dispatch the action. Action we have already defined earlier that is add cart item, and I am passing the temporary product. Now let's go to the reducer. Now here in the reducer, earlier we defined that every time there will be an increment of 1 in the quantity, but instead of this, now we are going to pass the data because the quantity can be anything if one has entered in the text box. So here I'm going to say action.data.quantity, that's the value which is being passed. Or it can be 1 also in case if somebody is incrementing it. Here also I'm going to apply the same thing. Here in the product detail, I'm going to use the use selector. We just want to check what is the value in the global store for a specific reducer. So I'm going to use the use selector here. So we get the cart details here also in the product details page. Alright, now we are going to display the cart inside the use effect. So I'm going to add the use effect hook also. Let's add the use effect. And here I'm going to use the cart only. That's the object we are watching for. And I'll say console log cart. Now let's check the output. So here I'm going to click on the add to cart. And you see that the total quantity, it says 1. Now let's change the quantity here. So now you see that the quantity is joined as a string. So let's go to the code and convert it into integer. So here I'm going to say parse int and the quantity. Now let's save and check the output again. Add to cart. So total quantity is 1. Now let me add 3. So now the total quantity is 4, and if I expand the item, the quantity is 4. Now if I go on the home and click this icon which adds the quantity, which adds to cart in fact, now you see that the total quantity is 5 and the quantity also is updated 5. So whether I click from this particular cart icon or I go to the product detail page and type and update, it's going to update the quantity globally. Now you see that there are 2 items added. The quantity is 5 and 1 respectively, and total quantity is 6 at the bottom. So add to cart functionality with the product page and product detail page is implemented. So add to cart functionality is over. So this section we have seen that how do we implement add to cart. We have already seen and return the add to cart functionality. We just call the same procedure from the product detail page when the user clicks on add to cart. In the next section, when the cart icon here is clicked, then we are going to open the details of cart.